AR6210s from China. And they're useless. They really are useless. And I know I'm going on about it, but I'm so annoyed with myself. Well, the manual is next to useless. It's not even worth the paper it's printed on. It is atrocious. The pictures in the manual are very hard to see. They're old school black and white pictures. No detail on them. They're pretty dreadful. The English translation is not brilliant. I was pleasantly surprised, however, to find that it did show a centre of gravity position. This was the most useful page in this whole manual. There. I told you it would be quick. All my Y leads have arrived. I only need one, but I thought I'd get some spare. The other thing that's arrived is a wonderful brand new Spectrum AR620 6-channel sports receiver. What have I done off camera? I've put these Velcro strips on the roof here, on the cabin. That's for my run cam. I can have it facing any direction I want, that's why I've made it into that square. The other thing I've done is I've marked the centre of gravity. And I put the Velcro here as well, so I can have another run cam on the underside of it. That's pretty much it. I've relegated my Bixler 2 and 3 to the garage. And in the space this hangs from my ceiling. So the first thing I'll do is take my new Y lead and I will find my flaps. This is the left wing flap with a servo reverser on it. That will go into one of the Y leads. There. And then this is the other flap for the right wing with no servo reverser on it. There we go. They will now both operate in the same way. I don't like Y leads going within leads. Then we have the rudder, we have the elevator, we have another set of Y leads. These are for the ailerons. Then we have the throttle. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 channels. This will go probably down here somewhere. It's nice there. I might actually have it here. Give the cables a chance to come through. Is throttle. Then we want the aileron. Then we want the elevator. Then we want the rudder. And then you've got gear, and then the next is auxiliary, and I've got the flaps on auxiliary, so I'll skip the gear and go into auxiliary. Right, so I now have to bind that new receiver.
Throttle cut on.
There we are, we're back in business. So the first thing I noticed, this flap's perfectly alright, this one isn't, it's a little bit low. So I'm going to adjust that one. So I'm just going to go and set the rates up. So I've finally got this all set up how I want it. So let's start over on this wing here, we'll take a look. So to start with, these are low rates. Now low rates are 50% movement with 30% expo. So that's going right, it's coming up, so I know that's good because the other one is doing the opposite. The mid rate is 70% movement with 30% expo. High rate is 100% movement with 50% expo. If we look at the flaps, we have takeoff flaps, then we have landing flaps. And they're about half each. But I've got the flap movement at 150% on takeoff flaps. That's 100, that's 50%. Then that's 100%. So the rudder at low rates is 50% movement, 30% expo. And this is mid rates. They are 70% movement with 30% expo. And full rates 100% movement with 50% expo. And the same with the elevator. So if we go low rates, 50% movement, 30% expo, 70% movement, 30% expo, 100% movement, 50% expo. Yeah, I'm happy with all of that now. And then of course throttle cut.
Throttle cut off.
One motor.
Throttle cut on.
So I'll put a bit of mixing in this. Obviously I've got the rates, so this is low rates. This is medium rates.
High rates. Low rates.
I've also got this. If I deploy the flaps to takeoff flaps,
Takeoff flaps.
you'll notice the elevator moves. Then landing flaps.
Landing flaps. Takeoff flaps. Flaps up. Takeoff flaps. Landing flaps.
The spinner back plate has been pushed onto the nut. I put yellow tips on the prop and I balanced it so each blade is the same weight. Put my washer over there, tighten this up. That's one. It doesn't seem to be lined up with it. It's not. That's not. 1 hour later, I got the spinner on. What a joke. The screws they give you are too small a diameter to bite onto the spinner backplate. They just go through the hole that's there. There's 3 little pegs that come out and the screws have to go into the pegs. They just wouldn't reach, and if they did reach they would be too small for the hole. So what I actually ended up doing, after lots of trial and error, I was even toying with the idea of not having a spinner and having one of these aluminium prop bolts on the end of it, but then I'd have to space it out at the back because the spinner acts as a spacer. Oh, it just went on and on and on. What I've ended up doing is using these small hex head screws. They're a bit shorter than these actually, the ones in there, but even so they were too long, so I had to drill the back of the spinner where these legs came out with holes in them to take the screws, so I could screw into the actual spinner backplate, not flush with it. It doesn't come out the back, but it was just 2-3 mil I needed to get into the backplate because these screws were a little bit long to hold that in place. Anyway, it's done, but it took forever. Silly little thing like putting a prop on. Everything else is okay. So this is the battery compartment. And it's just totally empty. I can't put anything there because otherwise the centre of gravity is too far forward and I have to put lead in the tail, and I do not want to put lead in the tail. So that's basically redundant. So I've decided I'm not going to glue that on. I'm going to leave it as a hatch. I'm not going to put anything in it, just in case if I change the configuration I might need to put the battery back up in here. So what I've done on this is I put a tab up here, and this is now the layout. Before we get to the layout, just like to point this canopy out because I'm going to have to take this on and off. I put two rare earth magnets either side here, and of course I've got the two magnets at the back, and they're matched up with these two magnets here and these strips of metal. So I think that should hold it down enough. This has to be one of the neatest interiors I've ever done. So all the cables come up from the wing through a slot here, and of course you've got your rudder and elevator. There is a channel here, a natural channel. It was already there. It was for the push rod for the nose gear, which I'm not using of course. So I took that out and I've fed all the servo connectors through it and put a piece of tape over the top just to hold it all in place. And they feed neatly into this AR620 receiver. No bind plug needed on this one, it's just got a button here, you press it and it goes into bind mode. The speed controller wire is taped on the side here, so it comes out of the receiver, runs along the side and then goes down into where the speed controller is held. And as you can see, the battery fits perfectly across the length of the fuselage in a natural dip. So this is a foam block here actually holding that in place. Plus I put Velcro down the bottom and I relocated the strap for the battery from the tray to underneath the Velcro, so that just stops it. But that's not going anywhere, that's really nice and tight. With that all set up like that, the centre of gravity is perfect. So the centre of gravity is here. This is where I'll be putting my run cam 2, and if it interferes with the centre of gravity, which it shouldn't because this is the centre of gravity plus or minus 5 millimeters, and this is in line with the centre of gravity position. So by putting the run cam 2 on there, half over forward of the centre of gravity and half back, it should be okay. But if that turns out not to be the case, I can always take this hatch off, put a little bit of temporary weight in there while I've got the cameras on it, do the flying, and then obviously when I take the camera off I can take the weight out of the front. It's another reason not to glue that. Well, that's it, she's all done. Centre of gravity's in the right spot. All the surfaces move correctly, don't interfere with each other. Got decent wheels on her. Places for my cameras. She's all ready to go. So thanks for watching, stay safe, stay well. I hope you come and join me for another video, and I look forward to giving this a maiden flight. Cheers.